All right. You ready? We are on page Kuf Nun Dalet. And we are still 4 lines from the bottom. The line begins with the Tiyeh Mizeh. And then kind of in the middle of that line. And we're dealing with something conceptually quite controversial. A question. Hashem knows the entire creation, entire world, and yet that knowledge does not automatically result in the world to come into being. Sounds like an odd type of question, because the creation of the world is a phenomenal miracle. And you say no, so yes, it is a miracle. Hashem's knowledge should have produced the presence of the world automatically, directly. So we discussed the principle behind it and so forth. But this is where we're up to. This is what we have to delve into and understand the principle behind this kind of this thought process. And we say that the fact that the world will not materialize just as a result of Hashem knowing it is a testimony to Hashem's what's called Koyach HaKol. It's as much a miracle, as much a wonder as the very creation itself. And the Rebbe says it in full words. Just as the fact that the world come to be as a result of his knowledge, that is it's a divine capacity. Similarly, when the world does not come into being as a result of his knowledge, it's also a divine capacity. And the Rebbe says, what is really the secret behind? What's the principle behind this? That the world will not come into being as a result of divine knowledge. And as it should have come into being. Divine knowledge should have actualized the world. However, the reason it does not is because this divine knowledge is at a higher level. The penis have Havdalah. He knows it, but he knows it from a completely different viewpoint or a sense of reality than the presence of world. We try to get a handle, get a means to enter these kind of thoughts with all kinds of different mashal. The mashal that we use thus far, which gave us a pretty clear handle on this principle, and it also made sense. The principle of ownership, where we said, we all understood, ownership is a fact in the world. But ownership defies being understood by the world. Ownership is the effect of something within the worldly capacity that the world cannot fully comprehend. Ownership is the result and the remainder, so to speak, the divine spirit that created the world. It is the divine spirit that gives this kind of a status, capacity, that a human being, because the Rebbe said, therefore a human being can own something without ever coming close to it. A human being can own something on a sense of value, a sense of presence that the world cannot identify. It is a divine definition of presence. So this opened this mystery to us and enabled us to to think about it. I was thinking further to give this a somewhat more meaningful, a higher perspective, significance. Ownership, the reason I'm looking for something higher, more meaningful, is for the following principle. A person can use an object in the world, owned or not owned. It does not affect his use of it and its service to him. So although this is emotional to understand this concept just the entry level understanding, but it does not fully explain the meaning of knowledge. Knowledge is something which is a personal knowledge, where the entire koyach hanefesh is expressed. This is why I wanted to introduce another level of insight on this principle. The principle of knowledge that cannot have a direct effect because this principle, this knowledge is on a higher level than the effect of it, and yet it is a true knowledge, and ultimately it is very significant in human experience. And for that, it occurred to me that the best way to demonstrate this in it, the best way to begin to think about this, is the principle of children. A child is a human being, and everybody enjoys their children. Everybody appreciates what a child is. Everybody can observe the child grow from infancy to childhood, to adolescence, to adulthood. It's a truly, so to speak, a small beginning to a great development. This great development is attesting to this, to the phenomenon, to the truth that this small beginning contains a capacity way beyond the obvious. Way beyond the obvious. Because ultimately, when he goes up to full adulthood and full capacity, and I don't have to describe what that is, that also all originated in this infancy. what is the point that how does that relate to the words in the Bible? Again, everyone knows what an infant is, what a child is. That knowledge of what a child is let me just transfer it to a practical situation. Children are playing around and they're annoying.
They what?
They're annoying.
Annoying. Annoying?
Annoying. They run around.
Right.
In a shul, the children run between the feet, between the tables and all that. And we get upset. Get out of here, man. And when we are so annoyed when this childhood playfulness, and we say, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. We don't realize how wrong we are, how we are lying to ourselves. These children are representative of the life of this shul, of this whole reality. Yes, they have to be. I'm not, giving any instructions saying they have to be kept on the wrap and kept in place and so forth. But the child element is something that we understand, we know, we see it, way beyond that which is the obvious. This little kid is not a little kid. This little kid is a huge giant. So here is an illustration of the principle of a knowledge that is remote from the factual entity that is known. This remoteness does not mean that he does not really know. He knows it very well. And yet, he's aloof. He stands above it. He knows it from a higher level. Not from a practical and experiential level, but from some kind of conceptual level.
And yet, a person.
Huh?
A person who is.
That's right.
A person realizes.
That's right. The conceptual does not mean a projection. Conceptual is a real knowledge. Look at the child. It's not, you have to project that this is going to be a giant. This is a giant.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
But at the same time, looking at him in this childhood level and infancy level, you don't see it. But you do know it. How do you identify this knowledge? Despite the fact that the way you interpret what you see is completely different. This knowledge is what we say, as Ivana says, from a higher level. Havdalah, a knowledge from a state of complete, total Havdalah. Havdalah means from a different world, from a different realm. This is a view from the realm of the Creator, as we said the other day. You see that which you cannot observe. You cannot see the neshama in the child, but you're looking at him from that perspective.
Yeah, beautiful.
This is a much richer means of relating to these words of knowledge. Havdalah legamri. It is both. What you know is B'Havdalah, and the means for you to know it is B'Havdalah. You don't know it as a result of any experience. You have a certain perception, a certain insight.
Yeah.
This life that is demonstrated by this disturbing child is a life of a divine infinity. This is why, if I may add, just to give us a deeper feel to it, this is why a child cannot stay still. He's in a constant movement. You sit him down and he sits there for half a minute and he's off on his feet on the other side. Because a child experiences the reality of his life. Without putting into some kind of a container. What am I supposed to do with this? Just, he sees, as we said the other day, he sees from this moment, he sees the entire world. And he can't say so. You have to go and examine everything. So this is what's going to explains to us, a means to explain to us the words in the Maimon. Knowledge as a B'chinas Havdalah. It's Havdalah B'chinas Havdalah, and the point that hits home with this is it's a knowledge that you know it, but because you know B'chinas Havdalah, it does not translate on the practical level. This is to put in words of in my mind. The Hashem knows things with koyach hakoyach. Koyach hakoyach means all-encompassing koyach. A reality beyond world reality. Reality at the level of the Creator. He knows it from that level. This knowledge does not translate in the world level to come into being. Because he knows it from the Creator's level of knowledge. Just as in our Moshe, one knows a child not from the practical and functioning level, but from an inception level, what neshama is in there. What's really ticking in there? Okay. Now let's go down to the third line from the bottom. The line begins with the word machrachat ha'ishabus. That the idea does not automatically result in the creation coming to be. Now the Rebbe says another notch in this. I'd like you to hopefully you'll understand. Ukmoi came. And similarly in the sense that a knowledge that is full knowledge, and yet it is from a higher perspective. where the knowledge has no effect on the fact. And another variation of that, another level of that. That is after that the Nivroim already became created. Not that the Nivroim were created, so you would say, okay, the Nivra is what Hashem conceptualized. This is what he represents. He is the entire creature. Everything that is the Creator knows about the Nivra is represented in this creature. In other words, this creature represents not a creature, but represents a creature that was created by a Creator, that is known by the Creator. This is what the creature is. Throughout the lifetime, so to speak, of the human being, his presence in the world is due to the knowledge of the Creator of him. Not only due, but it's represented by it. It's inspired by this knowledge. As I said about the child has no patience for anything. He's trying to run everywhere. An adult likewise has this aspect in a different way.
Oh, mute the phone.
Mute your phone. The adult has the same element, and that's indicating a vitality. What is being said?
That's indicating experiencing something of the source of existence, higher than the experience itself. Is it my phone? No.
No, it's somebody else's.
I don't think so. Maybe.
Wait, just to look at that for a second. The sort of, we're looking at the energy or the attention to.
We're looking at the phenomenon of knowledge. You know something. Are you ever satisfied and say, okay, I'm not interested any further insight in this?
Oh, that ongoing quest.
There's no limit.
Got it.
I've said many times recently that when you look out into the horizon, you can't have enough of it. Why? You saw it already. Can't have enough of it. Every time you glance on it, it's a new experience.
It's quite interesting that anybody can concentrate on anything to the exclusion of other things.
This concentration, it requires enormous self-discipline. You open up a say book, and you're up to page 25. Have you ever opened the book, not tried to see what's further down and what's behind?
No.
Wait a second, you get there, you read it.
You can't read a book by its cover.
You start flipping pages, and you catch a word here and there, and then you can go back and start again and wait your turn.
I think somebody says you put your phone on mute.
Sorry?
Did you put your phone on mute?
Unmute. Okay, yeah, it's unmute.
Can-
Unmute is no good, right? You
Ask if he can hear you.
what?
Can they hear you?
Yeah.
You
You
can't.
should-
Because this phone is unmute. You can't hear
You
it.
shouldn't put it on mute.
It's not unmute. It was
Okay.
unmute. I just put it on mute now.
Right.
How much time?
We
Oh,
have,
yeah,
we have
okay.
another 8 minutes.
Okay, right. But beautiful. Okay, let me start. Let me go in the middle of the third line from the bottom. It's a new world. And we need a lot of introductory position points. But it's a rich world, extremely rich. Ukmoi Cain, likewise. Likewise means just as we spoke about the creation itself, that the knowledge, the divine knowledge of the world does not automatically result in the world coming to being. Because the divine knowledge, as factual as real it is, it's from a higher perch. He knows it from a divine perspective rather than from a worldly perspective. Therefore, the world does not identify itself in that knowledge. K'moi Cain, likewise. After that, the Nivroim already came to be. So now, since the Nivroim came to be from the divine knowledge, that means that the Nivro contains and represents the divine knowledge that made him be. Everything that is in this divine knowledge that brought the Nivro to be is represented in this Nivro. To put it flat, clear, in a Nivro, there are many different aspects, each one of tremendous significance. Again, I'm going to use a emotion so we have a clear perspective of what you're trying to say. You have a home, and you see all the things in the home. And they all fit in, all make sense, and all have call attention. Along with all that, there is one overall impression of this home that encompasses all that you observe, of a significance much higher than everything that you observe. And that is that this home belongs to a human being. Not belongs monetarily. He is the one who put it together. That is the most significant part of an observation. Similarly, in the creation, a created entity, as rich as it is, and as much as it represents what the Creator had in mind with this creation, there's a super aspect in this creature. Which this creature, because it gets involved in its own experiences, sometimes can lose sight of it. But then when it loses sight of it, it loses itself. What is it? It forgets that it is a creature. That is a creator that made it be. Can you imagine a human being living in our world, experiencing all worldly experiences, whatever that brings it home, and not having the ability to say, Rebbeinu Shalom, what is this about? What's the meaning of this? Why are you doing this? Without having the option, so to speak, or the ability to turn into the creator of the world, and you're stuck exclusively in the experience of world itself, it's hardly possible for human being to survive. That's it.
No, we said that we could ask questions in the last 5 minutes.
Okay. Let me just finish it. Okay, fine. In other words, in every creature, there is what the object, what the creature itself is. And then there is the creator principle. That is an important principle within the life of the creatures. And very quickly, just adds, in a child is a child. And then he goes up into adulthood and he becomes his own standalone entity. He cannot possibly live without the thought of his parents. I've known children, I heard of such children, who did not know who their parents are. They couldn't find their life, they couldn't find themselves. Gifted people, without audience. Okay, we have to call it short. Go ahead.
It's a question about ownership.
Yeah.
We say that a human being owns a house, or it's part of a neighborhood, part of a town, part of a country, but there are domains in the world that don't have ownership. Like if you walk on the mountains, you go to the top of the mountain does not belong to anybody. So do we have to integrate this in the idea that this belongs to the country, or is there such a thing when we consider the concept of ownership? Is there such a thing as a piece of land?
No man's land.
No, that doesn't belong to anybody?
No. Think about it. You are on Mount Everest.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Couldn't be any more remote.
Mm-hmm.
Mount Everest is on Mars. Could you be there for a whole day, for one day?
No, you can't.
Why not? It's the same thing. You have to have a sense of orientation. Where am I?
Well, you are. We just said you are in no man's land.
You're not. A human being cannot possibly accept that. I'm saying if the same mountain is on Mars, not on Earth, an area that you can't relate to. You're floating in space. You wouldn't be able to tolerate that. It is true, it doesn't have a city, a country, and so on, but it has a location. It's on Earth. And you can relate it to Earth as a reality.
As being Hashem's creation.
As being, a play that was intended for you to be there.
Okay. I had another question, but it's too late.
What? Time's up.
Yeah.
With,
Oh, yeah, time's up. All right, gentlemen.
did either of these record?
No, this does not record. Me recorded, yeah.
Okay.
We can ask,
There has to be some kind of, there has to be some supplementation of this because
Start at 10 minutes late. Yeah.
yeah.
We'll ask